look at the paranormal side of it. Negativity brings in negativity, so you're going to bring in negative action, whether it's alien, off-world, whether it's spirit, that kind of thing. So, what do you think, Michael?
Well, I've always thought that the technology that we have now seems to have outstripped our abilities to use it in a rational way. The whole idea that you can almost be semi-anonymous with all of these posts that you put up, and you can create an avatar basically of what you look like on Facebook or whatever you want. Half the photographs up there that you see on people's profiles, you just wonder, oh my gosh, they can't be real, some of them. And the other ones that are real, you wonder, well, does that person really look like that, or are they just kind of putting up a front? So what happens is a lot of times you'll notice this. I noticed it initially when emails became very popular, because I'm a pre-email kind of guy at my stages of life, where I remember when people were, back in the old days when you had to actually just talk to someone on the phone, pick them up, as a lawyer, I'm doing that all day long, talking with clients, opposing counsels, and, different people that I need to find out information from. When you talk with them on the phone, you kind of get to know their personality, and you get to have some kind of a camaraderie going with them, at least some kind of a relationship that you can, work through. But when the emails came out, I was amazed how strange people's personalities, that I knew what they were like to begin with, but their emails kind of came out totally a different personality, and they kind of use those technologies for short, cryptic messages that really don't have any soul to them for some reason. So I think the technology is kind of outstripping our ability to use it correctly. Even if in the old days you just tried to be polite, that would go a long way. But people are kind of going beyond that just to try to get a point across, and that's kind of weird. Normally, when you run across the people like that, and you actually just, for instance, confront them or talk with them on the phone or those kinds of things, they're totally different. I mean, they're not going to be bullying people, face to face or voice to voice. They're usually able to do that because, they don't get any. They're kind of insulated from the response.
And that makes total sense. But do we see infighting within the UFO community?
Almost
sure.
every day on the sites that I'm with.
Yeah, there's always kind of backbiting and trying to one-upmanship going on out there, where people try to assert their own importance, I think, and instead of trying to bring the least of us along with the rest of the group, they try to a lot of times just try to belittle the people who are out front doing a lot of the work, and that's kind of tough too. But and I see this with other areas of the paranormal as well. I see it with ghost hunters. I see it with Bigfooters and those kinds of things. So it's not just ufology, but it's that personality out there of people who have the motivation to find out the truth, but still have this ego that they're dragging along behind them. For some reason, they won't let go of it.
And I have to bring it up, but you remember back at you had to leave, so you weren't at round table. But at Paracon, the question was asked, and I had to represent the Bigfoot community, but the question was asked, how are different teams, how are different groups, how are different investigators perceived within the different communities? And, it's competition, and it's more competition in the haunted community. It's more competition and arguing in the UFO community. But it is pure hatred between the Bigfoot community. You have this guy that says, well, Bigfoot is Giganteus pithecus. And the other one says, no, he's interdimensional. And there is no competition arguing. It's pure hatred. Have you guys seen that one?
Yeah, that's a typical response with some of the folks out there. And they don't seem to have an open mind. They seem to have made up their mind, about some of these issues, which is kind of hard to do in a field that we're working in here, where there's not a lot of concrete evidence to prove one way or another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they make opinion fact.
I can't wait for the day that Bigfoot comes out and just says, you guys are all idiots. Quit arguing.
Right? I base a lot of my opinion on experience. Now, have I seen a Bigfoot? No. I've seen Bigfoot tracks, and I've heard the tree knocks. Those are my experiences. Does that prove he's interdimensional? No. Does it prove he's Giganteus pithecus? No. But I know he exists based on the fact that I've heard the knocks and I've seen the tracks. It's not a bear that makes those tracks. For darn sure. But where I base my interdimensional belief is the fact that there's been many researchers out there that have put the cameras up and it's not a camera malfunction. It's a change in the way the camera perceives Bigfoot versus a rabbit, coyote, bear, deer, name your animal. And it's not just a one-time thing. It's happened numerous times. You've got Dave Scott, who actually saw kind of like Predator with the whole digital heat wave looking image. And now real quick, Tripp is asking a question in the chat room. Is it competition? He thought it was gather evidence to prove its existence. Bigfoot, alien, paranormal, name or poison. And you would think it's competition, but some of the attitudes and some of the actions of the researchers in the teams is more than just competition. It's more than just, I want to be the first one with a picture, or I want to be the first one with a body. No. Ooh,
don't do that.
No. It's pure hatred.
That's a big fine here.
Yeah, it is. And that question came up in another group. I think it was Gary that brought that up. If you used to see a Bigfoot and you had a gun, what would you do? Well, my answer with that was I'd go shake his hand.
Put away the gun first.
I don't think... And again, I'm going to be called woo-woo, but some people think that Bigfoot won't show up if you have a firearm. But at the same time, I was hunting when the Bigfoot knocks came up, so I had my 308. I think, and again, this is where the woo-woo factor comes in, the tinfoil hat, he can actually read your intention. So if you got the firearm because you're there to protect yourself from a predator, not Bigfoot, and he knows you're not hunting Bigfoot, I think he'll still show up.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I think it's a good possibility. He's proven, from what we know and what we've seen, he has proven intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Any intelligent animal knows if you're hunting them.
What? And Megan.
Yes.
You know, Megan had her game cam stolen.
Yes. And it's pretty far off the road.
How long ago was that?
Last year. But,
Okay, but it's been a year. Can we really call that stolen yet? Maybe it's just borrowed by Bigfoot.
Hey, I thought about that. And if it turns up...
Maybe he's just a really bad neighbor.
Yeah, no, so, yeah, because it's a spot in my yard and not, people don't trek through my yard. I've had a rogue cow come through my yard, and the funny thing is, actually this time last year, I actually had prints in my yard that were not black bear. Because I've had a black bear in my yard too. But these were fresh prints, and it was December 26th of 2017. And basically I was walking up the driveway and I noticed there was scuffled snow, and I actually took some photos of it, and I had a guy in the Darrington area come and look, and he was like, oh, well, tweakers, they probably saw your camera and then, ran through the snow. And I'm like, barefoot? Because this thing had toes, obvious toe marks in the snow, and there was no claws with the snow. And I was fascinated. And, I took measurement. It was just over 13 inches. So it was a smaller print. But who is running around in 16-degree weather barefoot with 4 inches of snow?
And is that when your cam was missing at that same time?
My camera was already missing at that time, but I did have a infrared camera system set up.
Oh.
So, what is funny is where the infrared comes to, it was probably within 20 feet, these prints, because something walked down the driveway, and then, because the driveway was shoveled, and it turned out and went underneath the apple tree and then back up to the road. And the prints were 5 to 6 feet apart. And the camera didn't pick it up because it didn't motion that camera, but everything that I've read actually says Bigfoot sees infrared.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So in other words, you almost have some kind of corroborative evidence that whatever it was that was leaving the prints reacted to the infrared, potentially.
Yes, that is my conclusion. However, the guy that I actually came and had look, he basically said, oh, it was just a tweaker. And I'm like, because a tweaker can see my tiny little bubble dot camera from 80 feet away? No, my camera is well hidden.
What is he saying a tweaker is? I don't know that term. I'm sorry.
Oh, a tweaker, a drug-influenced individual on a mission to commit thievery would be the exact definition.
That's a tweaker. I see. Okay.
Yes, a drug-influenced individual to, on a mission to commit thievery is basically a tweaker, per the definition.
Yeah. But they're pretty perceptive if they're responding to ultraviolet light. Interesting.
Well, most tweakers are on meth. That's kind of where the tweaker name came from, I believe.
Yes, and that is prevalent in the area. But to be barefoot, when it's in the teens, with 4 inches of snow on the ground,